Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Roddus back again with yet another vinyl video, and there's been a few coming in. Things should start slowing down soon, but been quite a lot of stuff happening on Trade Me, and I've picked up a bit of a grail on Trade Me. I was surprised I won it. Not sure why. Obviously, there weren't enough really keen people interested, and I thought it was going to go for a bit more than it did, but I managed to win it for slightly less than I thought it was going to go for, and certainly more than I'd like to have paid for it, but never mind, as usual. So, yeah, Wild Things Volume 2. This is a various artist compilation of New Zealand Kiwi Garage, it says on here. That's a fairly loose description. Volume 1 came out in the early 90s on Flying Nun, which I managed to pick up a copy of that, which is the one I had originally. I'm not sure if I had a copy of this one originally. This one is on Vault Records, Zero Records. Actually, yeah, it says Zero Records, but it actually says Vault on the label there. I'm not sure why, that's a bit confusing. But limited edition of 350 copies. It's supposed to be numbered, but it's not. There's no number next to the 350. So, yeah, I don't understand why it says Vault on the label and that. Anyway, so really cool compilation. I'm quite familiar with a lot of stuff on it. But, Wild Garage is a little bit loose connection. Some of it is, there's some pretty good psyche, fuzzy guitar, stuff like that. Some of the bands on here actually became quite commercial. Like, Ray Columbus, of course, and the Chicks. They were real pop groups, really. But anyway, good compilation. And then I went into Penny Lane. How did I end up in Penny Lane? I don't know. I ended up in Penny Lane, as usual. Yeah, I picked up some good stuff, actually, for reasonably good prices. So this compilation I spotted, Africa Funk, Return to the Original Sound of 70s Funky Africa. This is a Harmless Records compilation. Now I have some American funk compilations they did out on CD, so I thought I'd pick it up. It's okay. It's got Rofororo, I can't even say that properly, Fight, which is, Fela Kuti. It's a bit of a mix of early mid-70s Afro-funk and some American imitators later on. Double LP. That's okay. I wouldn't rant too highly about it. I've got much better Afro-funky compilations than that one. So I took a chance on a few things. Now, I was very slightly familiar with this band, the Pink Fairies. This is their second album, What a Bunch of Sweeties, from, 1971 or something around there. So I was quite familiar with a track off their first album, which is on Straight Outta Burbank compilation CD off Bomb Records, which I really enjoyed. That's a great song. So, I was a little bit familiar with these guys, and this is not a bad record. Yeah, there's some really cool guitaring. It's hard to pigeonhole it directly as in, it's not prog really. It's not psych, but although some of it can be quite psychy, it's some bit of fuzzy stuff, some great guitaring. Overall, I like it. And also I picked up at that little visit to Penny Lane, this one here, Atoll. This is the other LP that I didn't pick up on the other day when I was there, and I'd seen this one, and I picked up their second LP. This, I think, is their third, or was it their third and fourth? I can't quite remember. French prog band from the early 70s. I really enjoyed the other album that I bought, so I picked this one up. This is a Japanese pressing. Torito, I think, is the name of the record. Yeah. I think the other album is a little bit better, but this is pretty good. Still some good guitaring. And then finally, so I picked up some other Discog sales, some quite cheap stuff. So, and I picked them up because 3 of them are Albies LPs that I didn't have on vinyl anymore, and I used to have many years ago when I first started collecting. And these are they're quite important albums for me from my youth. you know, like I say, I do have them on CD. So first of all, I picked up, and I got these really cheap, and they look like they're in reasonably good condition. Yeah, so this was the third record I ever bought, Devo's Freedom of Choice. Absolutely love this record, still do, and I'm appreciating. Side one was the one I always used to play the most. Side two, I didn't quite, back in the day, I didn't quite get into it as much, but I certainly appreciate it a lot more now. Yeah, so really cool to have that on vinyl. And then, so these came in like, I bought basically two LPs with each sale for each thing. And so this one, that Devo one came with this Devo one, which is their next LP. And I have actually never owned a copy of this. What is this called? New Traditionalist, that's right. Wow, it's been a long time since I've heard this. And has this got that working in a coal mine? Or was that later? Oh, Beautiful World. That's the one. Beautiful World. Yeah, I remember that. So, yeah, at the time, I didn't really carry on following Devo after Freedom of Choice. I did actually go back a little bit, and I did pick up Devo's first LP off a friend, and that's one of my all-time fantastically favourite records of all time. Although in saying that, I only just picked up only a couple of years back their second LP. Another album I bought came with this. I wasn't that interested in this, but I will have a listen to it. I was familiar with Orchestral Maneuvers. It's a little bit rough, but the vinyl looks good. It's a bit of water damage on the cover. So I'm not sure what this will be like or whether I'll keep it. I might end up flicking it. But this record came in a bundle with this record. And this is another pretty important record for me back in my youth. This would be one of the very early records of my collection. I'd remember late one night hearing Love Action as the introduction came over the airwaves through my little transistor radio sitting on my pillow beside my head one night as I listened to music at that stage like that. That's how I learned a lot of stuff from those radio shows actually. And anyway, this was come blaring out of that one night, and I was really impressed. And it was probably just before they started getting big. New Zealand was always behind the time. So again, I've had this on CD for a few years. So nice to pick it up on vinyl. And finally, another one that's pretty important back in the day. And this is where I started getting a little bit more alternative. So Hunters and Collectors, Australian band from the very early 80s. And this is their first record. And I think it's from 1981. Actually, it's 1982. It's interesting. I don't know why I was thinking I was still in Form 4, which was 1981. So maybe, obviously the next year. So again, you know, a very early record. I didn't have it on vinyl. I just picked this up. This is actually a single LP plus an EP. So the original one. So that's pretty cool. They went on to become pretty big internationally between New Zealand and Australia. Maybe not so much over the rest of the world. And certainly got a lot more commercial, but this is really alternative, post-punky, and quite different in a way. You have a very different band. So I did see them live once. It was in the mid-'80s, and of course they'd become a lot more commercially successful. And to be honest, it was one of the worst gigs I ever went to. They were having a really off night, I think, and it absolutely bored me to death. I ended up going upstairs to the student bar and getting absolutely plastered with an ex-school friend that I bumped into at the same gig. So, pretty cool. So, that's a bunch of stuff that has just arrived over the last few days, or last week or so. So, that's a bit of cleaning to do, and I'll be looking forward to listening to some of these older records again after many years. So, all right, that's me. Catch you next time.